What does this mean practically in terms of the map? Well, Larry Sabato, who is, again, a left-leaning guy who runs the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia, he has something called the crystal ball. The crystal ball is ratings for particular Senate races. And right now, he has just moved a bunch of races away from the Democrats. So Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada were lean D. I always thought, by the way, that was a bit of an overstatement. They're now considered toss-ups by Larry Sabato. Colorado, which was a safe Democratic seat, is now being shifted to a likely Democratic seat. Okay, so if you look at the map right now, that means that lean Republican seats include Wisconsin, which remains a lean Republican seat, and Ohio, which remains a likely Republican seat. Unclear who's going to emerge from that Ohio primary, whether it's J.D. Vance or whether it's Josh Mandel. It'll be interesting to see because both of them are very Trumpy. In the toss-ups, according to Larry Sabato and the Center for Politics over at the University of Virginia, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. Republicans only need to pick up 2 of those in order for them to win control of the Senate. Nevada looks pretty good for them. Nevada is an ugly scene right now for the Democrats. Georgia, I think Republicans just win back. I think Republicans win back Georgia. I think it was a fluke that they lost the last time. I think it was largely driven by the fact that Donald Trump decided in the final days of the campaign that he was going to tell Republicans not to vote because of charges of voter fraud or some such other silliness. The reason I call that silliness is because whatever you think of voter fraud, not voting is a really, really dumb and stupid solution to that, considering you handed 2 seats to the Democrats in Georgia, which is, in fact, a red state. Okay, Arizona, it is not Kristen Sinema who's up in Arizona. It's Mark Kelly who's up in Arizona. But that state seems to be trending red again because of the nature of the political moment. Pennsylvania is a harder state for Republicans, but a bunch of Pennsylvania appellate court judges were just elected as Republicans. So if there is low turnout in some of the big cities and Democrats do not duplicate what they did in 2020 in Pennsylvania, that could go Republican too. So if all shifted to the Republicans, you'd be looking at 53 seats for the Republicans in the Senate. Remember, all they need to do is pick up 2. They just need to hold in Wisconsin and they need to pick up 2 more seats. That's it. And if they do that, they win the Senate. So this is now, I would say, a likely Republican Senate map. And Democrats are looking at that and they realize that. They are likely to lose both houses of Congress in the next election cycle. Okay, it's a disaster for them. And so, once again, they are presented with some choices. Okay, the choices for the Democrats are, you can follow the moderates, you can follow the progressives, or you can follow the crazies. Now, I know that everybody in politics right now is separating the Democrats into 2 categories rather than 3. Right? They're saying they're the moderates and they're the progressives. And among the moderates, they're counting people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden. This is incorrect. Right now, the Democratic Party is divided in 3 ways. It's divided between the crazies. That would be on the spending side, Pramila Jayapal from Washington. On the overall side, that would be the squad. The moderates, this would be in the House, people like Abigail Spanberger from Virginia. And in the Senate, it would be Manchin and Sinema. And then you have the progressives. The progressives are actually Biden and Pelosi and Schumer. The Democrats right now are heavily loaded toward the progressive side. They could stop this. Right? They could do what Bill Clinton did after he got blown out in 1994. He lowered capital gains taxes. He signed on to welfare reform. He started working with the Republicans on the other side of the aisle to come up with some sort of moderate policy. Do you think the Democrats are really going to do that? Or are the Democrats going to keep doubling down on stupid? It's fascinating to see how this breaks out down media and across the Democratic side of the aisle, because this is a real open argument in the media and on the Democratic side of the aisle. I think it's kind of hilarious that every time Democrats lose an election, they have this brief moment, particularly the media. They have a brief moment where they're like, what if we talked to people? What if we got out of this little bubble that we live in here on Twitter? And we actually went and talked to people who don't think like us. And we tried to comprehend what they were saying. Jim Acosta had this brief moment of clarity yesterday on CNN. It was quite amusing.
If you look at what happened in those red counties, those bright red counties from the Shenandoah Valley all the way down to southwestern Virginia, that is Trump country. And Democrats have not been able to make inroads in that part of Virginia and those kinds of rural areas around the United States for a very long time now. And I suspect that Democrats may need to do a little less lecturing and more listening when it comes to those rural voters to help them get back into the good graces of those kinds of Americans.
Now, I always laugh when I hear this sort of stuff from the media because they spent 4 years doing precisely the opposite, right? After Trump won, there was this brief moment in time where Democrats were like, maybe we should read Hillbilly Elegy. Maybe we should actually send Selena Zito out to talk to these Trump voters as though she was like Jeff Corwin going into the wild or something. And they'd wear like Australian hats and they'd be, who are these Trump voters? What are they doing? How do they think? And then after 5 minutes, they're like, no, they're all racist. We're not going to pay any attention to them anymore. Probably it was Facebook. Probably it was the Russians. So they have this brief moment of clarity. And in that brief moment of clarity lies the possibility for democratic hope. They're probably not going to take it. I mean, there are other commentators who are providing sort of this moment of clarity as well. For example, there's one former Obama advisor, Stephanie Cutter, and she says, what we're really scared of is that the Republicans are going to become the party of parents. Right? We tend to break Americans down by demographic group, by racial group, by age group. But there is one group of people who actually are united by interest that pretty much nobody has taken advantage of yet. And that, of course, are parents. Right? Once you have kids, your interests change. There's a reason that married women with kids vote very differently than single women. Here's Stephanie Cutter recognizing that reality.
The one thing that we need to make sure that Republicans in 2022 don't become is the party of parents, because we need to be the party of parents. and we are. We're the ones that care about school funding. We're the ones that care about making sure that parents can send their kids to school because they have jobs to go to. All of this, we need to own that agenda. We cannot let it go. And it's not just about critical race theory. It's coming out of COVID. It's parental frustration. It's parents being involved in their kids' schooling. We need to pay attention to all of it.
Okay, she's right about this. Democrats have no capacity to shift. They have no capacity to shift on this. They're in hock to the American Federation of Teachers, which fought hard against kids going back to school. They believe that the American Federation of Teachers should be able to determine solely how your kids are taught. It's very hard to make the case that you're the party of parents when you're also the party of abortion. That's a very difficult argument to make, just philosophically speaking. How's this for a title? Ben Shapiro Show subscriber destroys like button with clicks and logic. I'd watch that. Make it happen, gang.